Hello my schoolers, you are welcome to my school YouTube channel and my name is Frank. In today's video, we shall be tackling JAMB CBT mathematics past question for the year 2006. So relax, do not go anywhere, and we'll be right back. You are welcome back to my school YouTube channel. In today's video, we shall be solving question 26 to 50. So let's begin with question 26. If tan theta is equals to 5 over 4, find sin squared theta minus cos squared theta. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So to solve questions like this, you need the idea of SOHCAHTOA because it will help in directing you. Okay, so let's write out our SOHCAHTOA here, right? So in this question we are given tan, but remember that tan theta according to our SOHCAHTOA is opposite all over adjacent, and here we are given tan theta to be equals to 5 over 4. So here we can say that our opposite is 5 and the adjacent is 4, right? But for us to get sine and cos, we need to get the hypotenuse. So let's draw a right angle triangle. Okay, so let's say the angle is here. So we already know our opposite to be 5 and we know the adjacent to be 4. So we are looking for this part, right? So to get this part, which is the hypotenuse, we just have to apply Pythagoras theorem. Okay, so according to Pythagoras theorem, the square of the hypotenuse, okay, is equals to the sum of the square of the opposite and the adjacent. Okay, so let's fill in our values. So here, let's replace here with s. So s square is equals to 5 square plus 4 square. So this will be equals to 25 plus 16. So if we add these two together, that will be equals to 41, right? So, but we are looking for hypotenuse, not hypotenuse square, right? So in this case, for our s will now be equals to root 41, simply because we took the square root of both sides. Okay, now from here we know that sine theta will be equals to opposite all over hypotenuse. But remember, our hypotenuse is equals to the square root of 41. Okay, so if we fix here, we'll be having 5 over the square root of 41. Then for cos theta, we'll be having adjacent over hypotenuse, and this will be equals to 4 over root 41. So we can now find our sine squared theta minus cos squared theta. Okay, so we just fill in the values. Now remember that our sine theta is equals to 5 over root 41. So here we'll be having 5 over root 41 squared. Okay, because our sine here is squared, sine squared theta. Then here we'll be having 4 over root 41 all squared also. Okay, so this will simplify to give us 25 over 41. Remember that root 41 square, okay, is equals to 41 because the square will cancel out the square root. Okay, while here we'll be having minus 16 all over 41. Okay, so since the denominator of this fraction is the same, so we don't need to bother with finding the LCM. So the LCM is simply 41. So we just subtract the numerator. So in this case, we'll be having 25 minus 16. Okay, 25 minus 16, and that will be equals to 9. Okay, so the value of sine squared theta minus cos squared theta is equals to 9 all over 41. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, 9 over 41. Question 27. PQ and ROS are two parallel lines. If the coordinates of PQ, ROS are 1, Q in bracket, 3, 2 in bracket, 3, 4 in bracket, 5, 2Q respectively. Find the value of Q. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So remember, for this question, we're told that the two lines are parallel. Okay, and if two lines are parallel, that means their gradients are equal if we are to apply the condition for parallelism. Okay, so in this case, MU1 will be equals to MU2 because the two lines are parallel. Okay, and remember, for us to calculate gradient, we just use y2 minus y1 all over s2 minus x1. Okay, so this is for the first line, okay, the gradient of the first line. Then we do the same thing for the gradient of the second line. Okay, so you're having s2 minus s1. So here, this is our x1, this is our y1, this is our y2, and this is our, this is our s2, and this is our y2 for the first line. While for the second line, this is our x1, this is our y1, and this is our s2, and this is our y2. So we just substitute these values here. So here we'll be having, since our y2 is 2, so here we'll be having 2 minus, here is q minus q all over. So let's go for our s. So for our s, we have 3 minus 1. So let's do it for the second line. So for the second line, our y2 is 2q, then minus 4 for our y1, over our s2 is 5, then minus 3. So we'll be having, for the first line, we'll be having q2 minus q all over 2 is equals to, for the second line, 2q minus 4 all over 2. Okay, so we have two fractions that are equal to each other, so we simply cross multiply. Okay, so if we cross multiply this, we'll be having 4 minus 2q is equals to 4q minus 8. Okay, so now we can now collect like terms. So we can decide to move this 4q to this side and move this 4 to the other side. So here we'll be having minus 2q minus 4q is equals to minus 8, then minus 4. Remember, this our 4 is positive, so once it crosses the equal to sign, it's going to change to minus. The same thing with 4q, once it crosses the equal to sign, it's going to change to minus. So here we are now having minus 6q is equals to minus 12, okay? Because minus 8 minus 4 is equals to minus 12. So we divide both sides by the coefficient of q, which is minus 6. So that q is equals to minus 12 divided by minus 6. So minus, we cancel minus, 6 here 1, 6 here 2. So that q is equals to 2. Okay, so the value of q is equals to 2. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 2. Question 28. In triangle XYZ, angle XYZ is equals to 15 degrees. Angle XZY is equals to 45 degrees. And XY is equals to 7 centimeters. Find YZ. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So first thing first is to sketch the triangle. So this is a sketch of the triangle. So we'll call here X, we call here Y, and we'll call here Z. So we are told that angle Z is equals to 45 degrees. And angle Y is equals to 15 degrees, okay? And we are told that line SY is equals to 7 degrees. SY is equals to 7 centimeters, sorry. That we should find line YZ. So let's call it X, okay? So first of all, the first thing first is to find this angle, okay? So once we get this angle, then we'll now apply sine rule in getting the value of line XY, okay? So to find this angle, remember sum of angles in a triangle is equals to 180, right? Meaning that if I add all the 3 angles in a triangle, it's equals to 180. So in this case, to get the third part, which we don't know, will be 180 minus 45 minus 15, and that will equals to 120, okay? Remember that 45 plus 15 equals to 60, and 180 minus 60 is equals to 120 degrees. So here we just apply sine rule, okay? So sine rule is y all over sine y is equals to z all over sine z is equals to x all over sine x, okay? So based on, of course, to use sine rule, you need only 2 of these, okay? So based on the side we are looking for, so we need x and we already know z, okay? So that means we are going to be using xz, so we don't need this first part, okay? So here we know that our z is the side xy, okay? So that will be equals to 7 all over, then angle z is equals to 45, so here will be sine 45, and that will be equals to our x we don't know, so we'll leave it there. Then sine s is the angle, okay, of x, so and that is 120, so here we'll be having sine 120, okay? But remember that sine 120 degrees is also equals to sine 60 degrees. Okay, the reason being that sine 120 is in the second quadrant. Okay, and in the second quadrant is equals to 180. So 180 minus 120, that equals to 60 degrees. But also remember that sine 120 degrees is also equals to sine 60 degrees. Okay, so here we cross multiply to make s the subject of formula, so that s will be equals to 7 sine 60 degrees, because we said sine 120 degrees also equals to sine 60 degrees. So instead of writing sine 120, we just replace it with sine 60 degrees. Okay, divided by sine 45 degrees. Okay, remember that 60 degrees and 45 degrees, they are all special angles. Okay, so that sine 60 degrees is equals to root 3 all over 2, and sine 45 degrees is equals to root 2 all over 2. Okay, so we just substitute. So here we'll be having 7 times root 3 all over 2 divided by root 2 all over 2. Okay, so let's tidy up the numerator first, so that we'll be having 7. Okay, let's leave it. Okay, so let's go ahead. So here we just divide, right? So this fraction becomes 7 times root 3 all over 2, then times 2 all over root 2. Okay, so 2 we cancel out 2, so that we still have, let's continue from this part, so that we still have 7 root 3 all over root 2. Okay, so we can't leave this like this, so we have to rationalize by multiplying both the denominator and numerator by root 2. So multiply here by root 2 and multiply the denominator by root 2, so that at the end of the day we have 7 root 6 all over 2. Okay, the reason being that root 2 times root 2 is equals to 2. So this is the value of line YZ. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, 7 then bracket open root 6 divided by 2. Question 29. In the diagram above, find the value of x. So this diagram has been sketched on the board. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So if you are given question of this nature, what you simply do is to draw a line, okay, from this part to here. Okay, so if you check this very well, you discover that since this line is parallel to here, okay, what that means is that the angle that we have here is also equal to the angle that we have here. Okay, so this 55 degrees is alternate to this point, okay, to the angle that we have here. So this point is also 55 degrees, okay, based on the fact that these two angles are alternate to each other, right? Now this other side, okay, of the angle here is also alternate to the angle here. But remember that the angle here is s, which is actually what we are looking for. So here is also x. So the next thing is just to solve this part. Now remember that this is sum of angles at a point, and the sum of angles at a point is equals to 360. Okay, so this becomes 260 degrees plus 55 degrees plus x is equals to 360 degrees. The reason is angles at a point is equals to 360 degrees. Now since we are looking for the value of s, we just make it the subject of formula, so that s is equals to 360 minus 260 minus 55. Okay, remember all is in degree, and this will be equals to 45 degrees. So the value of x is 45 degrees. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, 45 degrees. Question 30. In the diagram above, POQ is a diameter of the circle PQRS if angle PSR is equals to 145 degrees. Find S degrees. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So in this question, we are told that PSR, okay, angle PSR is equals to 145 degrees, okay, and that we should find S degrees. So remember that PSQ, okay, angle PSQ is equals to 90 degrees, and the reason is this is angles in a semicircle. So angle in a semicircle is equals to 90 degrees, okay, so take note of that. But now what we are actually calculating for is S arrow Q, okay, S arrow Q. So angle SRQ in this case will be equals to, since PSQ is equals to 90 degree and PSR is equals to 145 degrees. So for us to get SRQ, okay, what we simply do is to subtract 90 from 145 degrees. So here we'll be having 145 degrees minus 90 degrees. So we subtract this equals to, this is 90 degrees. That will give us 55 degrees. So the angle that we have here is 45 degrees, while this remaining part is actually 90 degrees. So that if we add it together, we'll be having 145 degree. Now, but if you look at this S degree very well, this S degree is also equals to the 55 degree that we have here. Now, the reason for that is, so S degree is equals to 55 degree. The reason for that is angles in the same segment, okay? Angles in the same segment. So that makes S degree to be equals to 55 degrees. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 55 degrees. Question 31. What is the locus of points equidistant from the line AX plus BY plus C is equals to 0? Okay, so the answer to this question is option D. A line AS plus BY plus Q is equals to 0, okay? And the reason for that is because the locus of points that are equidistant from a line is another line that is parallel to the original line, okay? So in this case, the original line is this line represented by this equation, okay? And that new line, okay, that is parallel to the original line, which is this equation, has the same coefficient of X and Y. Okay, has the same coefficient of S and Y and has a different constant. Of course, that different constant represents the distance of the new line from the original line. So that makes option D the correct answer to this question. Question 32. PQRSTW is a regular hexagon and QS intercepts RT at V. Calculate angle TVS. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So the first thing first is to sketch the regular hexagon. Okay, so this is the regular hexagon. Remember, hexagon is a six-sided polygon. Okay, so let's call here P, let's call here Q, then let's call here arrow, then we have X, T, W. Okay, so they told us that the line QX, okay, so this is our QS, that this line intercepts arrow T. So this is arrow T at V, okay, that we should find TVS. Okay, now first of all, calculate for the angles, or each of the angles, or the interior angles of the regular polygon. Now remember the formula for calculating the sum of angles in a regular polygon, which is n minus 2 in bracket times 180. Now since we are calculating for each of the angles, we just divide here by n, which is the number of sides. Okay, so in this case we'll be having 6 minus 2 times 180 all over 6. Okay, so at the end of the day we'll be having 4 times 180 divided by 6. Okay, so 6 here is 1 and 6 here is 30. So 4 times 30 is equals to 120 degrees. So each of the angles here, okay, is equal to 120 degrees. So we have 120 degrees here. Here is also 120 degrees. Here is also 120 degrees. Okay. Now, if you look at angle QRS, you discover that angle QRS is an isosceles triangle. Now, remember that this is called, this polygon is called a regular polygon, meaning that the length of all the sides are equal. Okay. So if from here to here is equal to from here to here, that means that describes an isosceles triangle, because two sides of an isosceles triangles are equal. Okay, so if the angle that we already have here is equals to 120, okay, that means each of the angle that we have here will be equals to 30 degrees. Okay, so if this part is already equals to 30 degrees and we know that the whole of here is equals to 120 degrees, that means what is left here is equals to 90 degrees. Okay, so if here is 90 degrees and we are calculating for T, V, X, okay, but also remember, don't forget also that TROS is another isosceles triangle, okay? So that if the whole of here is equals to 120 degrees, that means here also is equals to 30 degrees, and here is equals to 30 degrees, okay? But now we are looking for the angle TVX, okay? So here is 30 degrees, then here is 90 degrees, then we are looking for here, okay? So to get that, remember, sum of angles in a triangle is equals to 180. So we just say 180 minus 30 minus 90. Remember that 30 plus 90 is equals to 120. So we still have 180 minus 120, and that will be equals to 60 degrees. So the angle TVS is equals to 60 degrees, okay? So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 60 degrees. Question 33. If the locus of the points which are equidistant from point P and Q meets line PQ at point N, then QN equals, okay, so these are the options that are given to us. So one thing you must know is that the locus of point equidistant, okay, that are equidistant from 2 points P and Q is a perpendicular bisector of the segment PQ. Okay, so what we simply mean here is that you have a straight line, P and Q, and this straight line is divided into 2 at the point N. So now in this question, we are told that we should find the value of Pn, okay? So since this line is shared into 2 equal half, Pn, okay, is equal to NQ, okay? So that makes the answer to this question option A, NQ. Question 34. In the diagram above, PQ is equals to 10 centimeters, PS is equals to 8 centimeters, and angle PSR is 60 degrees, while angle SRQ is a right angle. Find SR. So let's return back to the board to provide answer to this question. So this is the diagram that is given to us, and we are asked to calculate XR. Okay, so first thing to do is to take a straight line down from P, okay, to this point. So we can call here N, okay? Now remember that from P, PN arrow Q is a rectangle. And remember that the opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. So if PQ is equals to 10 centimeters, that means N arrow is also equals to 10 centimeters. So let's write it down. Now this is the part that we are looking for. Okay, so we can take out this right angle triangle SPN. Okay, so let's take it out, SXPN, and we know that here is 60 degrees, and this place is given to us to be equals to 8 centimeters. So we can actually calculate for SN, okay? So to calculate for SN is just for us to use some of what those are SOHCAHTOA, okay? So SOHCAHTOA will guide us to know the sides and the angle that is given to us. So if we check this very well, the opposite is not given to us, the hypotenuse is given to us, and the adjacent is given to us. So in that case, we are going to be making use of CAR, okay? So here we'll be having cos theta is equals to adjacent all over hypotenuse, okay? Remember our theta here is 60 degrees, so you'll be having cos 60 degrees is equals to adjacent, which is x, all over hypotenuse, which is 8, okay? Since we are looking for the value of x, we just cross multiply. So if we cross multiply, we'll be having s to be equals to 8 times cos 60 degree. Now remember that cos 60 degree is equals to 1 over 2. Okay, so here we'll be having s to be equals to 8 times 1 over 2, and 8 times 1 over 2 is equals to 4, okay, 4 centimeters. So that means the value of our s is equals to 4 centimeters, meaning Sn is equals to 4 centimeters. So let's put 4 centimeters here. But remember, we are asked to calculate for the value of SR, okay? So the value of SR will be from Sn, okay, will be the value of Sn then plus N arrow, okay? So S arrow is equals to Sn plus N arrow, which is the distance from x to n in this case, which is 4, then plus the distance from n to arrow, which is 10. So if we add it together, that will be equals to 14 centimeters, okay? So we can conclude that the distance, okay, between S and R is equals to 14 centimeters. So let's return back to the board to pick the correct option to this question, and that is option A, 14 centimeters. Question 35. The solution set of the shaded area above is, so let us analyze this one after the other. So these are the two lines, right? So when the lines are thick, you know that we'll be having greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Okay, so settle that part. Now if you look at this line, the under is shaded. So when the under is shaded, that means we are having less than or equal to. So in this case, for this line, y is less than or equals to x. Okay, let's write it down. So y is less than or equal to x, and the reason is because it was the downward part of the line that is shaded. So if had it been it was above the line that was shaded, then would have been greater than or equal to. So the reason why it is you have this equal to is because the line is thick. Okay, it's not broken. Had it been is broken, then would have been just less than. Now let's check for the second line. So for the second line is y plus s is equals to 4. So if you also look at this line, the line is thick, okay, and the under the line is shaded. So since under the line is shaded, then we'll be having y is also less than or equal to 4 minus s if we decide to do that, or we can as well still leave it as y plus s is greater than, is less than or equal to 4. Okay, now the next thing to find is to get the value of y. Now if you look at the side in which the triangle appears, the triangle appears on the positive side of y. Okay, that simply means that y is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so let's check for the set of solution that contains this value that we've got. So the first one is y is less than or equal to x. Then the second one is y plus s is less than or equal to 4, while the last one is y is greater than or equal to 0. So let's check them one after the other, and that agrees with option D. Okay, y is less than or equal to x, comma, y plus s is less than or equal to 4, and y is greater than or equal to 0. Do you know that you can take practice question with our JAMB CBT past questions? All you need to do is to click on the link in the description below, and that will take you to my school website. There you will need to download my school mobile app for your Android devices and my school software for your laptops and computers. Please go ahead and start practicing. Moving on to question 36. A binary operation plus defined on the set of real numbers is such that x plus y is equals to xy over 6 for all x, y are members of R. Find the inverse of 20 under this operation when the identity element is 6. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So for this question, we are told that identity element is equals to 6. Okay, but remember that for an element or for a number, okay, if let's say the number times the inverse of that number, okay, is equals to the identity element. So in this case, we say let the inverse, okay, of 20 be y, right? So that 20 times y will be equals to the identity element e, but in this case we are told that it's equals to 6. Okay, so what we simply do is that these values we use it to replace x and y that is given to us, and we substitute it into this fraction and equate it to 6. Okay, so here we are saying this is our x and this is our y. Okay, so let's change it to another letter. So let's use as p. Okay, so let's use this as p so that we will not be mistaken. Okay, so we are saying our x is equals to 20 and our y, okay, is equals to p. So we have to substitute this into x, y all over 6, and this will be equals to 6. Okay, so if we do that, we'll be having 20 times p, because anywhere I see s, I'm going to replace it with 20, and anywhere I see y, I'm going to replace it with p. All over 6 is equals to the identity element, which is given to us to be equals to 6. Okay, so in this case, we just cross multiply, so that we'll be having 20p to be equals to 36, right? Now, since we are looking for p, we divide both sides by the coefficient of p, which is 20. So that p is equals to 36 divided by 20. So we reduce this. So let's start with by 2, or let's start by 4. So 4 here is going to give us 9, and 4 here is going to give us 5. Okay, so therefore we can conclude that the inverse of 20 is equals to 9 over 5. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 9 over 5. I believe you are enjoying this video content. If yes, please do not forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly, tap on the notification bell to get informed as soon as we release the next videos. Question 37. If P varies inversely as the cube of Q and Q varies directly as the square of R, what is the relationship between P and R? So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So first of all, the first statement says that P varies inversely as the cube of Q. Okay, so P varies inversely as the cube of Q, okay, which is this. Then the second statement says Q varies directly as the square of R. So Q varies directly as the square of R. Okay, so this is it. Of course, we can't work with this. This is just showing relationship, so we have to introduce a constant. So P will be equals to K1 all over Q3, okay, and Q will be equals to K2 R square. So we have introduced the constant, right? So here, since we know our Q is equals to this, since our Q is equals to K2 R square, then we just substitute it into the first equation. So that we'll be having P to be equals to K1 all over K2, then in bracket R square raised to power 3. Okay, so the reason why the 3 didn't affect the K2 is because K2 is a constant. Okay, so we can rewrite this, since we can say let K1 all over K2 be equals to K. Okay, so we can rewrite this so that P is equals to K all over R raised to power 6. Okay, so in this case, the relationship between P and R is such that P is inversely proportional to R raised to power 6. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B. P varies inversely, okay, as R raised to power 6. Question 38. A binary operation star on the set of rational numbers is defined as S star y is equals to S squared minus y squared over 2sy. Find minus 5 star 3. So let's move over to the boards to provide answer to this question. So questions like this are very easy. Basically, it's all about substitution. So here, what they are actually telling us is that our y, our x is equals to minus 5, while our y is equals to 3. Okay, meaning that anywhere we see x in this fraction here, we should replace it with minus 5, and anywhere we see y, we should replace it with 3. Okay, so this will be equals to minus 5 square, then minus 3 square all over 2 times minus 5, then times 3. Okay, so remember that minus 5 square is equals to 25. Okay, the reason being that minus times minus is plus, then 5 times 5 is 25, then minus 9, okay, all over, this will be equals to minus 30, right? Because here we are having 2 times minus 5 times 3. Now remember that minus 5 times 3 will be equals to minus 15, and minus 15 times 2 will be equals to minus 30. Okay, so this will be equals to 16 all over minus 30. So let's break this down. So I think 2 can divide. So here we'll be having 8, and here we'll be having minus 15. I think there's nothing again that can divide. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, minus 8 all over 15. Question 39. Find the value of k if the expression k s cubed plus s squared minus 5s minus 2 leaves a remainder 2 when it is divided by 2x plus 1. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So to provide answer to this question, of course, this is a question under polynomial. And to provide answer to this question, we have to apply the remainders theorem. Okay, so according to the remainder theorem, the divisor, we have to equate it to 0 so that we can get the value of s, which we will substitute into this polynomial that is given to us. Okay, so 2x plus 1 will be equals to 0, so that 2s is equals to minus 1. That is if we move plus 1 to the other side of 0. So if we divide both sides by 2, we'll be having the value of s to be equals to minus 1 all over 2. Okay, so we are going to substitute this value of minus 1 over 2 into this expression. Okay, so let's just write out the expression again. Ks cubed plus s squared minus 5s minus 2. Okay, and this will be equals to the remainder. Okay, and the remainder is 2. So let's substitute for the value of s. So here we'll be having k bracket minus 1 over 2 raised to power 3 plus minus 1 over 2 raised to power 2 minus 5 bracket minus 1 over 2 minus 2 is equals to 2. Okay, so here we still be having minus k all over 8. The reason is because 2 raised to power 3 is 8, and minus 1 raised to power 3 is still minus 1. So the final answer here will be minus k all over 8. Okay, while here we'll be having plus 1 all over 4. The reason is because minus 1 square is equals to 1. Okay, and 2 square is equals to 4. Remember, this is a fraction, so this will be 1 square and 2 square, and that will still leave us with 1 over 4. Okay, why here, since we're having minus here and we have minus here, so both minus will multiply to change to plus, so that here we'll be having plus 5 all over 2. Okay, because this 5 is also over 1, so numerator will multiply numerator and denominator will multiply denominator. So minus 5 will multiply minus 1 to give us 5. Okay, and 1 will multiply 2 to give us 2. Then minus 2 is equals to 2. Okay, so since we are looking for the value of k, what we need to do here to clear these denominators, okay, is to multiply through by 8. So if we multiply through by 8, if we multiply this first fraction by 8, the second one, the third one, every single term here by 8, we'll be having minus k is equals to, okay, minus k plus 2. The reason because if I multiply here by 8, I'll be having 8 divided by 4, which is 2. Then here I'll be having plus, if I multiply here by 8, I'll be having 8 divided by 2, and that will leave us with 4. 4 times 5 will be equals to 20, so here I'll be having 20. Then minus 16 is equals to 16. Okay, so that minus k plus, so let's add these two together, plus 22 minus 16 is equals to 16. Okay, so if we move everything to the other side, okay, so let's subtract here. So here we are having 22 minus 6, so you'll be having minus 16, so you'll be having minus k, then plus 6, because 22 minus 16 is equals to 6 is equals to 16. So the next thing is just for us to move 6 to the other side of the equation, so that we'll be having minus k is equals to 16 minus 6, and that will be equals to 10, right? Now, but remember, we are not looking for minus k, we are looking for the value of k, so we simply multiply through, okay, by minus 1. So if I multiply minus k by minus 1, that will be equals to k, and if I multiply 10 by minus 1, that will be equals to minus 10, or you can as well say divide through by minus 1. Okay, the answer still remains the same. So the value of k is equals to minus 10. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, minus 10. Question 40. Solve the inequalities for which x plus 4 over 3 minus x minus 3 over 2 is less than 4. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So to solve this question, basically we are going to approach it as if we are solving simple equation, right? So first thing first is for us to clear this denominator. And for us to clear these denominators, we have to multiply by the LCM of 3 and 2. And the LCM of 3 and 2 is 6. So we multiply each of these fraction and the 4 by 6. So that we'll be having 6 bracket x plus 4 all over 3 in bracket minus 6, then in bracket x minus 3 all over 2 is less than 4 times 6. So if we divide here, we'll be having 1, this one will be 2. So if we expand that, we're having 2x plus 8, then minus, so 2 here is 1, 2 here is 3. So that if we multiply out, we'll be having minus 3x, then plus 9 is less than 4 times 6 is 24. Okay, so if we collect like terms, we're having 20, we'll be having 2x, minus 3x, then plus, of course, 8 plus 9 is 17. So here we'll be having 17 is less than 24. Okay, so 2s minus 3s, that will leave us with minus x. Then this plus 17 will move it to the other side of the equation. So that we'll be having minus s is less than 24 minus 17. Okay, so minus s will be less than 7 because 24 minus 17 is 7. Now remember that for an inequality, when you are dividing through by a negative value, the inequality sign will change. Okay, so now remember that in this question we are looking for the value of x and not for minus s. So what we simply do is to divide through by minus 1. So if we divide through by minus 1, our inequality sign here is going to change so that s will now becomes greater than minus 7. Okay, so let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, s is greater than minus 7. Question 41. The cost of renovating a 6-meter square room is 540 naira. What is the cost of renovating a 6-meter square room? So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So we have been told that the cost of renovating a 6-meter square room is equals to 540 naira, and that we should find the cost of renovating 9-meter square room. Okay, so in this case we just cross multiply. So if we cross multiply, we're having 6s to be equals to 540 times 9, right? Since we are looking for s, which represent the cost of renovating 9-meter square room. Okay, so we divide both sides by the coefficient of s, so that s is equals to 540 times 9 all over 6. Okay, so 6 here will be equals to 1, and 6 into 540 will be equals to 90. So that 90 times 9, that will be equals to 810 naira. Okay, so the cost of renovating 9-meter square room is equals to 810 naira. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 810 naira. Question 42. The sum of the first n positive integers is, so let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So here we are going to say let the positive integers be 1, 2, 3, 4, etc, etc, right? So here the number of terms still remains n. Okay, so n still remains the number of terms. Now if we are to calculate for the sum of the first n positive integers, we are going to be using xn is equals to n over 2 bracket open 2a plus n minus 1 bracket close d, then bracket close. Okay, so here the first term is equals to 1, that is a is equals to 1 and d is equals to 1 also. Okay, and the n is also equals to n. Okay, so if we substitute this into this formula, we'll be having n over 2 bracket 2 plus n minus 1 in bracket. Okay, remember that the common difference is also 1. So that here we'll be having n over 2 bracket 2 plus n minus 1 in bracket. Okay, so that we still have n over 2. Then here we'll be having 1 plus n in bracket. Okay, so that at the end of the day, the sum of the first n positive terms of an integer becomes n over 2, then here we have 1 plus n. Okay, so we can rearrange this so that we'll be having n over 2, then we'll be having n, then we'll be having, so we can open up this bracket. Okay, so if we open up this bracket at the top, we'll be having 1 over 2, then bracket n plus n squared. Okay, as the sum of the first n integers. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, okay? And that will be option D, 1 over 2n bracket n plus 1. Question 43. If t is equals to 2 pi root L over g, make g the subject of the formula. So let's move over to the board to make g the subject of the formula. So we are given t to be equals to 2 pi, then root L all over g. Okay, so we can decide first of all, since we want to make g the subject of formula, so we can decide to isolate g. Okay, so by doing that, we'll first of all divide both sides by 2 pi. So if I divide through by 2 pi, I'll be having t over 2 pi is equals to root L over g, right? Now the isolation still continue because g is still together with L. So the next thing is for us to kill off this square root, and to kill off this square root we have to simply take the square of both sides. Okay, so if I square here, I'll be having t square all over 4 pi square is equals to L all over g, right? So now we have two fractions that are equal to each other, so we can cross multiply. So if we cross multiply, we'll be having t square g to be equals to 4 pi square L. So since we are looking for g, we just divide both sides by the coefficient of d, which in this case is t square. So that g is equals to 4 pi square L divided by t square. Okay, so we have succeeded in making g the subject of formula. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B, 4 pi square L over t square. Question 44. If y is equals to s square minus x minus 12, find the range of values of x for which y is greater than or equal to 0. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So this is the question that is given to us, but we are told that y is greater than or equal to 0. So in this case, s squared minus x minus 12 will be greater than or equal to 0. So this is an inequality, okay, quadratic inequality. So we have to solve as usual the way we solve quadratic equation. Okay, so to factorize this, we'll be having s squared minus 4x plus 3x minus 12 is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so these are the two factors. 3 and 4 are the two factors that if I multiply them together, it will give me 12. And if I add them, it will give me minus what I have here, which is the coefficient of x, which is minus 1, right? So in this case, since we're having minus 12 here, so one of the factor of 12 will be negative. The greater of the two factors should be negative, so that if we add them together at the end of the day, we'll be having minus x. So minus 4x plus 3x, that will result to minus x. Okay, so we just group them. So we put the first two terms together in a bracket and the last two terms together in a bracket, and these are equal to, these are greater than or equal to 0. So we just factor out what is common. So s is common here, so bring out s. So here we'll be having x minus 4 in bracket. Then what is common here is 3, so 3 comes out, and here we'll be having x, then also minus 4, all is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, since what we have in both brackets are the same, we just take one of them and we put what we have outside the brackets together, okay, to form another bracket. So you'll be having x plus 3 in another bracket, then one of these, x minus 4, and these are greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so what we have in the first bracket is greater than or equal to 0, and also what we have in the second bracket is greater than or equal to 0. So if I move x plus 3 to the other side of 0, I'll be having s to be greater than or equal to minus 3, or for the second bracket, I'll be having s to be greater than or equal to 4. Okay, but we cannot conclude that this is our answer. The reason is because we are dealing with inequality. We are looking for a range of values. Okay, so what we simply do to check if our answer is correct is just for us to carry these values and substitute them into the given equation. So in this case, we are going to take a value that is greater than minus 3. So the value that is greater than minus 3 will be minus 2. So if I put minus 2 here, I'll be having 2. Then here I'll be having plus 2. Then minus 12. So if you check this very well, it will not be greater than 0. It will be less than 0. So this value cannot be true for this inequality. So in that case, S here will be less than or equal to minus 3. So that if we take any value that is less than minus 3, in that case, which will be 4. So which will be minus 4. So if I substitute minus 4 into this inequality, I'll be having 16, then plus 4 minus 12. And that will be equals to 12. And which is greater than 0. Okay, so the values of x are s is less than or equal to minus 3, or s is greater than or equal to 4. Of course, for 4, if we take a value that is greater than 4, which is 5, and put it here, our answer is going to be very, very correct. Because if I put 5 here, that will be 25. Then 25 minus 5, then minus 17 will give us a value, minus 12 will give us a value that is greater than 0. Okay, so this is correct and this is also correct. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option B. S is less than or equal to minus 3, or S is greater than or equal to 4. Do you have any question to ask? If yes, please feel free to ask your question by clicking on the link in the description below, and that will take you to my school website. There you can ask your questions, and our team of solution providers will provide answers to all your questions within a short period of time. Moving on to question 45. How many terms of the series 3, minus 6, plus 12, minus 24, plus dash 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 are needed to make a total of 1 minus 2 raised to power 8. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So this is a question on series, and if we are looking to calculate for the number of terms, we are going to be using Sn is equals to a bracket 1 minus arrow raised to power n all over 1 minus r. Okay, so this depends on if r, okay, which is the common ratio, is less than 1. Okay, that is when you make use of this formula. Okay, so from here, the first term a is equals to 3, and the common ratio is actually minus 2, okay, which is less than 1. Okay, common ratio is equals to minus 2, which is less than 1. So how did I get the common ratio? By simply using the first term to divide the second term. So the second term in this case is minus 6, and the first term is 3. So if I divide minus 6 by 3, that equals to minus 2. Okay, so that is how I got the common ratio. So the next is just for us to substitute. So our Sn, but remember that our Sn is equals to 1 minus 2 raised to power 8. Okay, so this whole thing here will be equals to, so you'll be having 3 bracket 1 minus 2 raised to power n in brackets all over 1 minus 2. Remember that the common ratio is minus 2. Okay, so that you'll be having 1 minus 2 raised to power 8 is equals to 3 bracket 1 minus 2 in bracket raised to power n all over 3. The reason is because minus times minus is plus, so that 1 plus 2 is equals to 3. So 3 we cancel as 3, so that at the end of the day we now have 1 minus 2 raised to power 8 is equals to 1 minus 2 raised to power n. Okay, so since the value that we have here, our 2 raised to power, the power of 2 here is equals to 8. That means our n here is also equals to 8. Okay, but remember that this minus 2 is the same thing as say minus 1 times 2. Okay, so if I take the power of minus 1 times 2 to be equal to 8, of course this minus 1 is actually going to end up becoming a plus. Okay, so here we can conclude that our n is equals to 8. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option D, 8. Do you have better step or solution to any of these questions? If yes, you can comment the question number and the solution you wish to share in the comment section below. Question 46. Find PQ for which 2P 8, 3 minus 5Q in brackets times 1 over 2 in bracket is equals to 24 then minus 17 in bracket. Of course, these are matrices, okay? So let's move over to the boards to provide answer to this question. So since we are looking, what we are giving here is actually matrix multiplication. So we have to multiply here and equate it, the result, to what we have on our right hand side. Okay, so if we are to multiply, so we multiply like this, okay, row then by column, row multiplied by column. Okay, so here we'll be having 2p times 1, and that will be equals to 2p, then plus 8 times 2, and that will give us 16, and this will be equals to 24. Okay, then here we'll be having 3 times 1, and that will be equals to 3, then plus minus 5q times 2, and that will be equals to minus 10q, and this will be equals to minus 17. Now the reason why I have to clean that plus, because it's still the same thing. I can as well still write plus here and bring my minus 10q here. Okay, of course this will still result to 3 minus 10q. Okay, so that is the reason why I have to clean that plus and just go straight, but it's still the same thing. So from here we can get the value of p, and from here we can get the value of q. So let's get the value of q, p first. So 2p plus 16 is equals to 24. So we just collect like terms. So that 2p is equals to 24 minus 16, and that will be equals to 8. Right? Since we are looking for p, we divide both sides by the coefficient of p, which is 2, so that p is equals to 4. Okay, then from here we can get the value of q. So 3 minus 10q is equals to minus 17. So we move this 3 to the other side of the equation, so that we'll be having minus 10q is equals to minus 17 minus 3, and that is equals to minus 20. Now we are looking for the value of q, not minus 10q. So we simply divide both sides by minus 10q, so that q is equals to minus 20 divided by minus 10, and this will result to 2. Okay, so the value of p is equals to 4, while the value of q is equals to 2. So let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option C, 4 and 2. Question 47. If X matrix S has this element and matrix Y has this element, now we should find 2x minus y. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So first thing first is just for us to obtain the scalar multiplication of matrix S. So here matrix S is being divided by 2. So 2s is now equals to 2, then bracket 1, 2 minus 1, 0 minus 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So if we multiply, we'll be having 2, then 4 minus 2, then 0 minus 2, 0, 2, 0, and 2. Okay, but we are actually looking for, we are asked to find 2x minus y. So here we'll be having 2, 4 minus 2, 0 minus 2, 0, 2, 0, 2 in bracket, minus 1, 0, 2, 1, minus 1, minus 1, 2, minus 1, 1. Okay, so these are the elements of matrix Y. So we subtract. So here we're having 2 minus minus. So minus minus is going to result in plus. So there we'll be having 3. Then 0 minus 1, that will give us minus 1. Then 2 minus 2, that will give us 0. Then here 4 minus 0, this will give us 4. Then minus 2 minus minus 1, that will give us minus 1. Okay, because minus minus is going to change to plus. So minus 2 plus 1 will give us minus 1. So 0 minus minus 1, that will give us 1. Okay, then minus 2 minus 2. Okay, minus 2 minus 2, that will give us minus 4. Then 0 minus minus 1, that will give us 1. Then 2 minus 1, that will give us 1. Okay, so the resulting matrix, this is the element of the resulting matrix. So let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, Okay, and that would be option B, 3, 4, minus 1, then minus 1, minus 1, 1, 0, 1, and 1. Okay, so option B is the correct answer to this question. Question 48. Find the root of s cubed minus 2s squared minus 5s plus 6 is equals to 0. So let's move over to the board to provide answer to this question. So basically, we are going to use trial and error method to solve this. Okay, I don't want to go through that process of having to divide. The reason is because the factors of 6 are quite easy. Okay, and this is a trinomial. So the values of s is going to be 3. And the factors of 6 are 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so if we say so in this case we are saying that s is equals to 1, 2, or 3, so that x minus 1 is equals to 0. Okay, so let's see if any of these are factors of when s is positive, whether they are factors of this trinomial that is given to us. So for the first one, we are just going to substitute. So anywhere we see s, we are going to replace it with 1. So here we're having 1 cubed, then minus 2, bracket 1, square, then minus 5, bracket 1, then plus 6. Let's see if it equals to 0. So if it is equals to 0, that means x minus 1 is a factor. So that in that case, if you put it to 0, s will be equals to 1. Okay, so here we still have 1, here we still have minus 2, here we have minus 5, and here we have plus 6. Let's see if it will be equals to 0. So these two is going to add together to give us 7, and these two will add together to give us minus 7. So 7 minus 7 is equals to 0. So that means one of the value of x is what? Is 1. Okay, so we have gotten this. So let's try it for 2. Okay, so for 2, that means we are having s minus 2 to be equals to 0, so that s is equals to 2. So anywhere we see s, we are going to replace in this polynomial, we are going to replace it by 2. So let's test. So here we'll be having 2 raised to power 3 minus 2 bracket 2 raised to power 2 in bracket, then minus 5, then in bracket 2 plus 6 is equals to 0. So let's see if after adding and is equals to 0, that means x minus 2 is a factor. But if it's not equals to 0, that means the reverse is the case. That means s plus 2 is a factor, so that x is equals to minus 2. Okay, so the cube root of 2 is 8, then minus, this definitely is going to give us 8, because 2 squared is 4, then 2 times 4 is going to give us 8. So here is 8, while here we're having minus 10, then plus 6 is equals to 0. So this we cancel out. 8 minus 8 is 0. Then here we're having minus 10 plus 6. So minus 10 plus 6 is not equals to 0. So that means x minus 2 is not a factor. So the other side of it will be a factor, which is x plus 2. Okay, is equals to 0. Is a factor of this polynomial, so that s is equals to minus 2. Okay, so we can test it out. So if we test it out, we'll be having minus 2 raised to power 3, then plus 2, minus 2 bracket minus 2 square, then minus 5 bracket minus 2, then plus 6 is equals to 0. Okay, so if we minus 2 cube is equals to minus 8, then minus 2 square will give us plus 4, then minus 2 times 4 will give us minus 8. So here we'll be having plus 10, because we're having minus 5 times minus 2, that will give us plus 10, then plus 6. Let's see if we add all this, if it will be equals to 0. So here we're having minus 8 minus 8, and minus 8 minus 8 is minus 16, then plus, here we're having plus 10 plus 6, and that is 16. So minus 16 plus 16 is equals to 0. Okay, so that means one value of s is equals to minus 2. Okay, now remember that I've gotten one value of s, which is s is equals to 1. Now I've gotten the second one to be s is equals to minus 2. So take note. Now we are looking for the third one. Okay, so let's just clean this part of the board. So we are going to be using the third factor of 6, which is 3. So we just substitute it and see if it will be equals to 0. So for here we'll be having 3 raised to power 3, then minus 2 bracket 3 raised to power 2, then minus 5 bracket 3, then plus 6. Let's see if it will be equals to 0. So 3 raised to the power 3 is 27, while here we have minus, of course this is equals to 9, so minus 2 times 9 will give us minus 18, okay, while this will give us minus 15 plus 6 is equals to 0. So these two are going to add together and that will give us 33. Then we are having minus 18 and minus 15. Okay, so minus 18 minus 15 is definitely going to give us minus 33. Okay, and 33 minus 33 is equals to 0. So that means x minus 3, okay, is a factor of this trinomial, meaning that s is equals to 3. Okay, so therefore the factors, okay, the values of x are s is equals to 1, s is equals to minus 2, and s is equals to 3. So let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question. But of course, since you have tried the first one, now that you already know the factor for the first one, which is s minus 1, then you can do polynomial division if you can do that. Okay, so let's return back to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A. The values of x, or the root of s, are 1, minus 2, and 3. Okay, so that makes option A the correct answer to this question. Question 49. The response of 160 pupils in a school asked to indicate their favorite subjects is given in the bar chart above. What percentage of the pupils have English and health education as their favorite subject? Okay, so from the bar chart, let's actually get the number of students that have English and health education as their favorite subject. So we are going to focus on English. But if you look at the bar chart very well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars, okay, before we have value. So what that means is that each of these bars is equals to 2. So that if I put 5 together, that will be equals to 10. Okay, take note of that. So let's go for English. So this is the last. So for English here, we have 50. Then the last mark here, which is on the first box, okay, so that will be equals to 52. Okay, so the number of students that says English is their favorite subject is 52. So let's move over to the board and write it down, 52. So let's return back to the screen to do the same for health education. So for health education, this is where the number stopped, right? So if we trace it up, that will be 3 buses from 30. So 3 buses from 30 will be 2, 4, and 6. That is 36 students. Okay, so let's return back to the board to provide answer to this question in full. So here is 36. Okay, so here we can add this together to get the total number of people, right? So if we add 52 plus 36 together, that will be equals to 88, right? Now, remember, if we're calculating for percentage, what we simply do is that we multiply by 100%. So, and we are asked to calculate for the percentage of the pupils that have English and health education as their favorite subject. So in this case, that will be equals to 88 all over the total number of pupils times 100. Okay, so 88 all over 160 times 100 over 1. So 0, we take out 0 from here. So that 8 here will be equals to 2, and 8 here will be 11. 2 here is 1, and 2 here will be 5. So that at the end of the day, we have 55%. Okay, so the percentage of pupils that have health education and English language as their favorite subject is equals to 55%. So let's move over to the screen to pick the correct answer to this question, and that is option A, 55%. Question 50. If E is a subset of G and G is a subset of U, remember U here represent the universal set. Okay, so where U is the universal set, then the shaded Venn diagram representing U minus E, or E complement, is, okay, so clearly looking at the board, we know that the answer to this question is option IV, okay, which is option D. And the reason for that is that this is the Venn diagram that represents U minus E, or E complement. Okay, now if you look at the E here in this particular figure, you discover that the value, the E is not dotted, okay? So the E is not dotted because it is showing complement, okay? So that makes this IV the correct answer to this question, which is option IV. Why the rest does not represent E complement? The only figure here that represents E complement is IV. So that makes option D the correct answer to this question. I believe you are enjoying this video content. If yes, please do not forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly, tap on the notification bell to get informed as soon as we release the next videos.